Okay, folks, welcome back. Now it's that time of the season again. Scottish Premier League starts, but also the Fantasy Football Scotland is back as well, with the Mighty D's booking their place not only in the league but also in the fantasy football for this season, which is quite important too. Today we're obviously joined by Stevie and Fraz. How are you guys?
I'm
Not
good.
too bad.
Looking forward to it. I don't know at what point I'll forget about the fantasy league once I'm doing terribly, but we'll see. We'll see how far we go.
It's just inevitable. It happens for a lot of people. They kind of lose interest very, very early on if they don't get the points that they want as well. And that's why I always suggest people that go into leagues and stuff to put money into them because then it's that incentive to keep going.
Yep. You need that incentive. It's got to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, in this video, basically, the three of us will be revealing our teams. Once we've eventually stopped tinkering with them, we have now, which is great on the Fantasy Football Scotland app. Link of them is in the description, and later on we'll be revealing the RosscoReviews Viewers League code as well. So stay tuned for that too. But without further ado, Fraz, if you'd like to put your team on the screen now. Okay, so on the screen is obviously Fraz's team. Fraz, what team name have you gone with first and foremost?
It's honestly, mate, it's a team name that I've used since like pro clubs, like like FIFA 12, Damned United. If you don't know this, to know the story, it's an absolute brilliant story of how Brian Clough and managed to mess up the reputation of Leeds United in 44 days and inevitably became known as Damned United. Hopefully, I'll last more than 44 days, but we'll see. We'll see.
Unbelievable film, by the way. And we know someone that does a great impression of it too. Shout out to Adam. Just basically go through your team and justify your choices.
So in between the sticks, Benjamin Seagrass, in my opinion, Benjamin Seagrass last season was the best goalkeeper in the league, bar Alan McGregor. I'm not going to splash in the cash on Alan McGregor when you can have an equally good goalkeeper in Benjamin Seagrass. So yeah, he takes the place there. Substitute goalies Gary Maley. That was just like one of the ones at the end where you've got an extra bit of cash. Who are you going to spend it on? Gary Maley, 38-year-old. So the defenders are Sean Rooney, a very reliable defender. He's also very good going forward, so hopefully we can get him a few assists, maybe a couple of goals, because I've heard that he's also a set piece taker as well. So we'll go for that. Josh Doig, young player of the year. So I think last season at the age of 18, he was absolutely phenomenal. I think the boy's only going to go from strength to strength. So that was the reason behind him. Jordan McGee, who Fantasy Football Scotland listed as a defender, he's actually a midfielder. So it's a bit of a loophole that. Watch Jordan all the time at Dundee, and yeah, fantastic player. He's got that technical ability, so hopefully he rakes in some points from defence stroke midfield. The other defenders I've went from are Charlie Mulgrew, who signed for United. I think his experience is going to be extremely valuable for them. He's been there and done it, so hopefully he can get a few points, but not too many. I want to see my players do well, but also want the teams that we play for not to do too well. United. And finally, the other defender is Stephen Kingsley of Hearts. He's obviously taken another place on the bench. I don't really want to play any Hearts players in the weekend against Celtic because, Celtic, who have just been knocked out of Europe, Champions League, probably come back and beat Hearts like 5-0. So that goes the clean sheet bonus.
I think, his defence looks pretty solid there, Fraz. Definitely agree with a couple of your choices. I won't spoil at the moment, but a couple of your choices I'm certainly not in agreement with. And I think young Josh Doig, he had a good season last season for Hibs, and he'll be looking to go from strength to strength for Hibernian again. And as you say, the loophole with Jordan McGee, he'll get you goals for set pieces. He's quite energetic in the middle of the park, and he's done as a defender. So quite a smart choice of your backline there, Fraz. Well done.
Yeah. I think with Jordan McGee, it's obviously he gets involved with a lot going forward as well, and he's going to pick up clean sheet bonus points from being a defender in game, but not like, if that makes sense. Like he's in midfield, but he's a defender in the fantasy football. So yeah, Jordan McGee. I'm going to spoil he's in my defence, but yeah, I think that's the other choice I quite like is you've got with Benjamin Siegrist there. This year, the Fantasy Football Scotland app have put in like save points. I know they already do it in the English one, but they didn't do it last year in the Scotland one. And Siegrist, I think, made the most saves in the league last season. So yeah, I think that's a really solid choice. Mulgrew, I'm led to believe will maybe take free kicks and penalties. So yeah, great choice again. And Sean Rooney as well. I think Sean Rooney. I think we've all got him.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Good choices in there, Fraz. I like that.
Thank you very much, lads. Thank you. So on to the midfield, starting off with Yanis Hadji, who came to Rangers last season, with big shoes to fill, with his dad being an absolute world superstar. And yeah, he lived up to the name, he's the most assists. So yeah, he's obviously in my team, hopefully he gets even more assists this season. Charlie Adam, I mean, continuing the Dundee trend, Charlie Adams just going to tear up the Premier League. It could come back and bite me on the arse, but Charlie Adams' technical ability is absolutely phenomenal.
First name on the team sheet, mate.
I don't know, because I've done it. I done it logically. Actually, I went and done. I was like filling out like a player that I could have in each position. Then I started like littering. But yeah, Charlie Adam was definitely, a no-brainer. Another no-brainer was also David Turnbull. He was very much a standout player in a very poor Celtic side last season. So, I had to get him in because I think he's only going to get better as well. Such a young age as well as Josh Doig. And another Dundee, another two to go. But Paul McMullen, another Dundee representative, Paul McMullen came to us in January, and he was phenomenal. The amount of assists he had, and he's already started his competitive goal, hopefully streak for Dundee. So long may that continue. Another midfielder I've went for is Andy Halliday of Hearts. I mean, it's kind of one of the ones where it's kind of like, Andy Halliday has played in the top flight before, so his experience will be useful. But I think against Celtic, I think he might pick up a booking, or he might even get sent off. He always lets his past allegiances get the better of him. So yeah, I've took the tactical decision and dropped him this week.
Yeah, I think with your midfielder, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I don't think I would have went with Hadji personally. I don't know how much game time he'll get.
Ooh.
That's my only concern in your midfield there, is that I don't know how much Hadji will play. Charlie Adam, I mean, you'd be daft not to have him in for the value he is. Turnbull, another brilliant. He had a great season last season. I like that choice a lot. Paul McMullen, I'm not going to spoil my team too much, and I haven't even got to mine, but Paul McMullen, I couldn't fit into my team because I had 5 other midfielders that I'd rather than him. And I understand why you've went with him. He got 12 assists from January last year. It's just, but I think the thing that confirmed it for me was more the fact that he's never really done it at the Premier League level. So I decided not to. And I know Dundee have got quite a tough run-in to start with as well. So I've left him out for now, but that may change.
I'll make you feel slightly better about your midfield. It's good to see that you've got the goal in there. And I know as Dundee fans are thinking the goal is Charlie Adam, but spoiler alert, it's David Turnbull. So it's good to see that you've got him in there. I think Hadji, I understand what Ross is saying because he didn't play much last season. There was times where he was out the team, but it's a big season for Giannis Hadji, and it'll be one with you really be looking to kick on. So if he manages, hopefully for you and for us to hit the ground running, then that could be a great pick.
I mean, I picked him on the basis, he was like, he was in and out of the squad, but he was still, getting the assists. So, he could be in and out of the squad this season and he'd still pick up the assists, as long as he's doing something for me. Otherwise, he'll be on the way out.
Yeah. That's a beauty, isn't it? You can always change. Change.
Absolutely. So, moving on to the three up front. First of all, Kevin Nisbet. I mean, Kevin Nisbet's debut season at Hibs, everybody, kind of had that, is he going to be able to make that step? And yeah, he did 100%. There's rumours of him maybe going away. So that may be one to kind of keep an eye on. But yeah, I mean, he gets the goals. He always gets in the right positions. So Kevin Nisbet speaks for himself. Kamal Roof was the next one. I mean, he was another one that was very high up in the goal scoring charts last season. I mean, I thought last season he was, considerably better than Morelos. So I think, Kamal Roof might be pushing his way into, being a more regular. And finally, Nicky Clark of Dundee United. I think Nicky Clark doesn't get enough credit. Sometimes everybody looks to Lawrence Shankland, but not a lot of people look to Nicky Clark. I think he does a lot of the dirty work for Shankland and United especially. So hopefully he can pick up a few assists, maybe a few goals. Let's see.
I'm interested in that forward line because I was looking at it initially, Fraz, and I'm going, Kemal Roof, I don't know how much game time he's going to get, but then I remembered he was injured for a large part of last season, and when he was fit, he was playing and he was scoring. So, that makes perfect sense to have him in there. Kevin Nisbet, I believe his middle name is Goals, so that's a good choice. And Nicky Clark is smart because Shanklin gets a lot of the plaudits, but Nicky Clark is just as effective sometimes. So, strong team.
Yeah, I think that's smart putting Roof in there rather than Morelos, because you've obviously got the boy Itten champing at the bit to get in as well, and he's obviously scored against Real Madrid recently too. I think for 8 million, Morelos is really pricey considering how many bookings he gets. And yeah, he gets the goals. I'm not going to dispute that. But he gets bookings and there's no guarantee he'll be a starter this season.
You look at the boy that they've signed as well, Fashion Sakawa. He's come in and he scored against Real Madrid. So there's plenty of competition for places. The Rangers up front. Sorry for this.
I was going to say, as you touched on there, Morelos was 8 million. And, as you also said, he does get the goals, but he also gets bookings. So that's the thing as well, there's been instances where Morelos might get a brace, but then, towards the end, his head goes and he ends up getting sent off. So it's kind of you could get the goals, the points for the goals, but, the discipline kind of lets them down, and then it'll just even out rather than getting you an increase.
Yeah. So, the other thing is if you make him captain as well, if he gets booked, that's -2 rather than -1.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the Nicky Clark one, understand why you've done it, but in terms of fitness, I worry about him. And then Nisbet, I totally agree. I think that's a good choice, solid choice there. No, good team for us. Must admit. No, really good. And is that the 3-4-3 you've gone with on the opening day of the season, or do you think you'll still change it before we go?
I don't know, but I can exclusively tell you that the two Hearts boys will not be in contention for a space. I mean, Charlie Mulgrew might give me something to think about in the next few days, but no, the Hearts boys will definitely not be coming into the fold for the opening weekend, but we'll see.
Okay, so now we're on to Stevie Wheels, a different views team. Explain your choices. Justify your decisions, Mr. Gaffer. What's your team name first and foremost? For God's sake?
So I have went with something that's pretty topical, seeing as what the world is going through just now, and I've played on a pun. I went for Nemanja Kovacic. That's the name of my team. So just try to play on that. But we don't want to get into the COVID side, so should I just go straight into my team? Because if we start talking about that stuff,
please do.
carry on. Right, okay. I went with Benji Siegrist in goals. I think Fraz has already said about him. You touched on it, most saves as well in the league last season, and I think he had behind Alan McGregor one of the highest amount of clean sheets as well. So I'm basically just trying to guarantee myself points for that selection, to be honest with you. Cheaper than McGregor, and he will be just as effective, I think. So I went with him in goal. And then move on to my right back, or one of my defenders, should I say, and I went with James Tavernier. He gets goals, he gets assists, he takes free kicks, he takes penalties. It's just going to be an absolute points machine for me, I think, in the back line. And beside him, I've got the budget Tavernier and Sean Rooney. So he's already touched on him. He takes free kicks. He's got an assist in him and a goal as well. And I think he's someone that is very unlucky, well, could count himself very unlucky not to be in that squad for the Euros 2020 to go with Scotland, because he had a great season last season, and I'm hoping that form very much continues. I usually, when I'm doing this, I go for fullbacks across the back line, because I think that's where you get points. But I've mixed it up this season, and I stuck a centre half in there. I went with Ryan Porteous. I think he can be a threat from set pieces. I fancy Hibs to have a good season, so hopefully he can keep clean sheets for me. I know they're playing Motherwell this weekend, and I've seen how toothless Motherwell have been up front. And as you can see my team, you'll be thinking, well, you're a bit of contradict yourself when you get to the forward line. But bear with me. No, so I went with Ryan Porteous in there because I think he's a good young talent and he will have a good season. So that's my back line and my goalkeeper, guys.
What about your two subs?
The two, I forgot we were then subs. Apologies. So I went with the boy Williamson because, again, he's a cheap defender, and the boy Sinclair is a cheap goalkeeper just to save cash. And if Hearts have got an easy game, well, they're playing Celtic this weekend, so Craig Halkett is nowhere near the starting 11 for this weekend, but he could come in. I'm interested to see how he does this season.
Yeah.
So
talking about players coming in, what I like about this app is that it's always the most points off the bench that comes in, as long as it doesn't go like too few defenders or something like that. If your player doesn't play in your team, it then picks the highest points player on the bench, which I quite like. I think that's so much better to do it that way. James Tavernier, 6.5 million is a lot of money. He's by far the most expensive defender by about, I think it's like over $1 million or something like that. So it's quite hefty. I can see why you've done it. Sean Rooney we've already covered. Ryan Porteous, that surprised me a little bit. But Jack Ross sort of prides himself in making his teams hard to beat, and hopefully that'll rack up clean sheet points for you.
That was my thought process behind it.
Yeah. And then obviously you've got Halkett and Williamson, which I don't really know much about Williamson.
Williamson was just...
Yeah, is it just one of these bench filler guys?
You need your fan experience.
And Halkett's got good points in previous seasons as well. So, I understand that for choice.
No, I mean, obviously James Tavernier, it's obviously he will get you points, but I understand that he was a hefty price tag on him. So obviously you've had to probably compromise in some positions. I mean, he does everything. Absolute everything. Sean Rooney, we know. Ryan Porteous, I think Ryan Porteous is probably going to be the season that he pushes for a place in the Scotland team. He's been trying to do it for ages, and I think this might be the one. Great centre half. Craig Halkett, I always felt for Craig Halkett in the sense that he was probably the better of two evils in the Hearts sent, the pairing. So that's a very good decision to put him in. Probably not for the opening weekend, as we've discussed. And yeah, Williamson, who we all don't know when we don't know about him, but
I don't know him either, so it's fine.
it could be one that could get you points, but it'd be quite a surprise. Who knows?
Yeah, he may have a breakthrough season. I don't know. Here's hoping. But on to the midfield now, and this boy is a boy that I'm really excited about. Jamie McGrath. He can get goals through midfield for St Mirren. He takes up penalties as well, I believe. I don't know whether that will change with the amount of new signings that they brought in this season, but I'm hoping that it'll stay the same. And goals, assists for midfield, very, very important. And then beside him for this week, because the person I've got on the bench I'll get on in a minute is injured, I've got Ali McCann for St Johnstone, one of the brightest prospects in Northern Irish football at the minute coming through. He's someone that always gets raved about on sports scene. Now, my only doubt about this pick, there was a bit of doubt about this pick I had to work within the budget. I don't know how good he will be points-wise, but I certainly know in terms of as a player, he's great to watch. So I am looking forward to seeing if he can provide for me on the points front this season. And beside him, I've got the GOAT, the greatest of all time, David Turnbull. Goals, assists, what's not to like. I think this boy could go to the very, very top of the game, and I'm just hoping that he goes from strength to strength for my team and for his career, because I want to see him do well as well. Just because I think he's going to be one of Celtic's top goal scorers, and you know how good a delivery he's got for corners. So any goal for a corner that Celtic get, I'll be getting points for that as well. And beside him, we're glad to know Paul McMullen. I think he's a really good player for you. He's mentioned there 12 assists for January last season. I think obviously when he played at United as well, Fraz touched on it, that a lot of Shanklin's goals, when I was having a conversation with Fraz, he said that a lot of Shanklin's goals came from McMullen as well. So I think he will provide a lot for big Jason Cummins, and hopefully for your sake, Chilling Sheridan up front as well. So that's why I've got him in there. And then for later on in the season, because I know he's injured at the moment, Mark O'Hara, he takes Motherwell's penalties. I think it's always good to have penalty takers in your squad. And he can chip in with a goal for open play as well. So, and he was cheap, so I put Mark O'Hara in there.
It's easy points if you've got a penalty taker, because teams are inevitably going to get penalties within the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark O'Hara was another one I thought about. I thought about most players, but Mark O'Hara I thought about quite extensively. I've obviously seen him play for Dundee and stuff, but yeah, sorry, I hate to say this to you, Stevie, but I don't fancy Motherwell at all this season. So,
no, I echo your thoughts. It's fine.
Here's me with like 3 Dundee players on my team, but anyway, I don't fancy Motherwell at all, really. But I can see why you put him in. Davy Turnbull, great choice. McGrath as well, I think that's a good choice too. Ali McCann, he's a brilliant midfielder, but I think with McCann, he's not one of these guys that gets a lot of goals and assists. He's just a great midfielder, but I know that they've brought in passing and tackle points this season as well, which can also help with those kind of players too. So these players that do this sort of dirty work are fine, you know.
No, but just on your comments here, it's bad when Dundee fans are going into a season more confident than me as a Motherwell supporter, and Dundee are the team that are just promoted. But no, he's got every right to feel that way as well. But any thoughts?
I mean, as you touched on, Ali McCann, great midfielder. I think he's probably going to be another one that goes, like, I wouldn't say to the very top, but he'll get a very good move down south in a number of years. Jamie McGrath, hope he has a quiet week this week. But yeah, I mean, like St Mirren were, they were pushing for that top 6, and he was one of the instigators of that. In the middle of the midfield, fun enough. David Turnbull, I've picked on myself, so it's pretty much the same reasons a bit. And Paul McMahon, what a wee guy. Fantastic. Cracky wee guy.
What a wee guy.
We need to get that on t-shirts. What a wee guy, Fraz 2021.
So he wasn't saying that when he was playing for United, Fraz. But to be fair, we both said when he played for United, that's the one player we would take at Dens.
No, I mean he's always been a threat. Just the pace that he can reach. And I'm like really excited about him. As a Dundee supporter, we've not had a winger that's had that ability to just take players on, because it's always just been like they'll approach the defender and then they'll run like the other way. Whereas Paul McMahon gets stuck in, and he will get along that byline and get the ball in, and hopefully, assists. He's even getting into the byline and scoring in the League Cup games. So yeah, definitely. Echo them. Go on, Paul.
I onto my forward line now. He's my captain, as you can see, Kevin Nisbet. I'm just praying that if he stays at Hibs, but even if he doesn't, because there's rumours that he goes to Celtic, just don't go to Russia, Kev, because you're going to be a big part of this team this season. Because the other two boys that I've got beside you are a bit of a gamble. So Kev, please stay. No, I think he'll get goals, and I've seen Motherwell's backline, and I know that they're playing us this weekend. So I was tempted to go triple captain. I'm not going to lie, first game of the season. But no, I never, because I could never do that to my team. Speaking of my own team, I know I agreed with Ross when I said that I fear for Motherwell this season, but I've got Big Kevin Van Veen, the budget bear camp beside him. That's what we call him. This guy, he's not scored in the League Cup. Not very many people have scored for Motherwell in the League Cup this season, but he's been getting chances, and I just get the sense that once he gets one goal, they'll come in bursts. Louis Moult was that kind of a striker that when he did score these goals, he scored them in bunches. Now, I'm no at any point putting them in that bracket just yet, but I'm encouraged for what I've seen. What we do need to get is the players round about him that can supply him. And I've spoke to Alan Burrows, he says he's still looking for another 3 or 4, and that was after we signed Callum Slattery, on Saturday. So hopefully we can get the players that will give this big man service. And then beside him, finally, I'm excited about this guy, Tristan Ramirez for Houston Dynamo. I think Aberdeen are going to have a good season. I know Ross has been pretty doubtful before towards the end of last season about Aberdeen. I don't think he fancied them too much, but I think with the way they've started, they've brought in Scott Brown, they've brought in Declan Gallagher. Aberdeen are going to have a good season this season, and I'm hoping that Ramirez is going to be their top goal scorer. So that's why I put him in. That's my forward line.
I think obviously Kevin Nisbet, I selected him as well. He's probably he's probably the best out and out Scottish strikers that is Scottish. Kenny Van de Veen and Christian Ramirez is probably the two that I'm kind of like. It's a bit of as you said, it's a bit of a gamble. Because obviously it's like the first time they've actually played in Scotland, debut seasons. So, I mean, just have to kind of hope and pray that they get off the mark.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is that Motherwell are notorious for this is where Dundee and Motherwell are completely different. Motherwell are notorious for turning players that are like nobodies into like unreal players, whereas Dundee pick good players that are proven and turn them into absolute gash. So at the end of the day, and the other thing with what I found with the strikers, we're going to go into my team in a minute, but because a lot of teams just play one up top, they've put the wingers as midfielders rather than forwards. So it's been quite difficult to pick forwards, really. I don't know if you found that issue too.
Yeah, I did. And that's why I went for like the likes of Tavernier in defence, because like I knew that when I got to the forward region I'd be struggling anyway. I've took 2 gambles. If these 2 gambles pay off, I think I've got a pretty solid team and a good chance of finishing higher.
Yeah. Fair dues.
I was going to say as well, that was the thing with the strikers. Like, I think the cheapest striker was like 3.3 million, and it's kind of like, it was kind of difficult. You were either like you were trying to like choose a position like that you could get a cheap option, because like you couldn't get a really cheap option up front. But I mean, you filled your team. Like, there's a lot of like really good players in there, Stevie. Definitely.
Yeah.
When I was looking through the strikers, I remember looking at it, and the cheapest striker, as you said, is like 3.3 million, and it was like Michael Cunningham, who doesn't even play for Dundee anymore. He isn't even there. He's been released. So it was quite difficult. Like the midfielders and defence, you can get like a defender for like 2 million, but you have to spend 3.3 million on a striker that isn't going to play. So
I mean, Killian Sheridan, I mean, the guy who's not even been in Scotland for God knows how long, it's like 3.5 million for somehow.
That's quite interesting. But no, good team, Stevie. Look forward to see how you get on with that. Okay, finally on to Muggins' team. Team name I've gone with, I've went with Killy and Sheridan PLC, because just a play on Killy and Sheridan there. Went for Xander Clark in goal. Everybody last season seen what Xander Clark did for St Johnstone. He's going to get save points. They're going to get clean sheets. I've also went with Ross Sinclair, the backup young goalie for St Johnstone. That's a bit of a tactical move, because then if one of them doesn't play, then the other one's going to come in. So yeah, that was my thinking behind that. Young Jack McKenzie for Aberdeen. Led to believe he's been given the number 3 shirt this season. He was on loan at Forfar last season, but he's been given the number 3 shirt for this season, and they reckon he's going to start every week. So I thought, you know what, 2 million, cheapest chips. I thought, got to put this guy in. I think that's a good choice. That 6.5 million for Tavernier, I decided to splash out on. I think Fraz, I think you're mental for not having Tavernier in. I think he adds far too much points in a season. And as you can see, I've also gone with him as captain as well for the first week. I've then got Sean Rooney as vice captain. The way it kind of works in this app is that the vice captain, it depends on what whether the defender, midfielder, or striker, depending on what points they get. So I think for defenders, if they get a clean sheet, they get vice captain points as well. If it's a midfielder and they get an assist, they get vice captain points. And if they're a striker and they score, they get vice captain points. I think that's the way it works. So anyway, I went with Sean Rooney because I fancy him to get a clean sheet against Ross County away, because I know Ross County have had a few issues with obviously fitness and COVID and that. So that's who I've gone with there. Then went with Paul McGinn. Paul McGinn scored so many points last season for Hibs, and I fancy them to do quite well this season. Maybe not third place like they were last season, but they'll have a good season. They'll probably be top 6. And then Jordan McGee, who we covered earlier on, as being the out of position defender.
The loophole.
Yeah, the loophole. So
yep. I was a bit like, I didn't know how much about the Roy McKenzie, so I'll just take your word on what you're telling me there. And if they're giving him the number 3 shirt, they obviously believe in him. And it'd be interesting to see the kind of season he had. Tavernier again. I've said all I need to say about him. Points machine, makes absolute sense. And then Sean Rooney beside him as well. I like the fact that he went for Xander Clark, because that's obviously a different thought process to me and Fraz, because then if Sean Rooney gets a clean sheet, then Xander Clark will get a clean sheet as well. So it makes sense to have the 2 of them in there. I'm impressed with your back line. Decent.
That's the thing as well. Paul McGinn has recently been appointed the Hibs vice captain, actually. So I mean, he's going to be obviously a more regular. I think he's kind of revitalised his career under Jack Ross. So it's a good pick. Jack McKenzie's the only one that I don't really know. Obviously, very well versed of James Tavernier, Sean Rooney, and of course John McGee. But it's a good team in the back 5.
Yeah,
Quite
I know
interesting.
it's a bit defensive for the first week.
Quite
I'm not
an
gonna
interesting
lie.
one, that bit,
But I'm hoping for a few clean sheet points here. But as you can see by my bench, I don't fancy Hearts at all in the first game. But yeah, we'll come on to that now. Joe Aribo, great season he had last season. I had him in for a lot of last season as well, and he picked me up a good amount of points. So, and I think he's about a certain to play this season too, most weeks. So yeah, I've gone with him. Charlie Adam was the first person I put in the team. As I said, first name on the team sheet. You can't not put him in for the value he is, and he's going to get goals and assists, and he takes all the set pieces as well. So yeah, definitely have to go with him. And Davy Turnbull as well. When he broke into the Celtic team last season, he was brilliant, and a terrible Celtic team. He kind of shone and done really well. I've also gone with McAnuff and Pollock for Hearts as two a bit cheaper midfielders. McAnuff, in terms of likes of the Mackenzie one, I'm led to believe he's going to play every week. So as a budget midfielder, you kind of have to do that. And the young boy Pollock's just been breaking into the team. That was more of a budget issue thing. But he has broken into the team in recent weeks, and he's been scoring as well. So yeah, that was my thinking behind him too.
3 words. Where's Paul McGowan?
Where's Paul McGowan?
No, but I mean, obviously your starting midfielders, Joe Aribo, Charlie Adam, and David Turnbull make perfect sense. I mean, we've spoken about Charlie Adam and David Turnbull till the cows can come home. But Joe Aribo, yeah, he was one that, I was kind of like, how's he going to cope with, obviously he was young and coming up into Scotland, how he's going to cope with it, and cope perfectly well. So I can understand that one. McAnuff and Pollock's probably the only ones that I'm kind of like, who? I mean, but who are these guys? But, that's the thing about young players. You just don't know what young players are just going to break through into the scene, and have, brilliant breakthrough seasons. So, they could be the next breakthroughs. Who knows?
I think for me, I've already said what needs to be said about David Turnbull. We know about what Charlie Adam can do. I'm really impressed with the fact that you went with Joe Aribo, because that's a bit outside the box. I don't think a lot of people maybe have him, and he will get points. He's that kind of midfielder that goes under the radar, but he's so effective in games. Maybe because other people in the Rangers team get spoke about more than he does. He kind of goes under the radar a wee bit. And I've seen Hearts in the League Cup, and Finlay Pollock will play. If he plays to the standard that he's been playing at in the League Cup, he will play and he will have a good season, I think, because he's one of these midfielders that likes to time his runs late, get in the box and get himself goals, and he's got a pass on him as well that can unlock a defence. So I think that's a really smart choice, to be honest.
The boy McAnuff, I know Fraz says two youngsters. McAnuff, he's 26. He's no a youngster, but he's one of these guys. He's a box to box kind of midfielder. I think he's as Stevie just said with Pollock, he's going to be one of these guys that's maybe going to get you goals from arriving into the sort of the box late kind of thing. In terms of the strikers, I've gone with Jason Cummins. Now, this one was a tricky one. There was nobody better for that value that I had at that point. And I know that Dundee are going to probably rotate their strikers a lot this season, but they've pretty much, Cummins has solidified himself as a penalty taker now. And Jason Cummins, wherever he's gone, he's scored. So I know he probably won't play sometimes, but I've gone with it anyway. I've also went with Edouard. It was 8 million. It was quite a bit of a gamble, but I don't think Celtic will do as bad as people say they're going to do this season. I think Edouard will score goals. I think he'll be back to top form because he'll be wanting to move away. And then finally, I've gone with Liam Boyce as well. Obviously, don't fancy him against Celtic, but that guy's scored goals his whole career. I really rate Liam Boyce. I'd love to have him at Dens.
Yeah. No, Edouard, sorry, Fraz, Edouard, he's going to get you goals. Jason Cummins, I put Paul McMullen in my team, so I hope that he's the guy that Paul McMullen is getting goals to. Then that'll be a good pick for you. And Liam Boyce, he'll score. I think Hearts, particularly at home, will be pretty hard to beat this season. That's where they pick up the majority of their points. Tynecastle, really tough place to go, and I expect Boyce to be their top goal scorer, so makes sense.
That's the thing as well, mate. I mean, like, the three that you do have up front are probably going to be, like, I'd say maybe Cummins has probably got a lot, like, competition for who's going to be top scorer at Dens, but definitely Boyce and Edward are probably going to be the top scorers at Hearts and Celtic, respectively. I mean, that was the thing about Edward. I mean, everybody said Celtic were poor and all that, but I think Edward was the top scorer in the league.
Yeah, he was.
With like a really low amount, but still got the goals. I mean, Liam Boyce, Liam Boyce, he's just that. He is a very classic number 9. Few pass the ball at his feet in the box. He's 9 times out of 10 going to score. Good front three though. I do like that front three.
Yeah,
appreciate it. So that just about wraps up the teams. What we'll do is we'll go into the Viewers League now. I'll pop it up on the screen now. Okay, so this is the RosscoReviews Viewer League, and the code is on the screen as such. It's lowercase r, lowercase g, capital A, lowercase X, and then a capital N. I'll try to work out a decent prize for the winner, but I guess it all depends on how many actually even join the thing. So get joining. Make sure to get all your family and friends to join as well, but make sure to get them to subscribe first. And the more people that we have in the league, the better the prize will be. So please get joining. Now, one thing we haven't talked about, which is going off on a bit of a tangent to the video, the three of us have just created a podcast. I don't know if you guys want to explain this, or it's called Whose Round Is It? And we're live on Twitch, and also we upload to YouTube, Spotify, all that kind of thing as well. Yeah, you guys want to?
Yes. So basically, we have a show every week with a different topic. We're looking to get guests for as many episodes as possible. But obviously, it can be difficult to source guests. So just whenever we can, really, we will have guests on, and we're definitely going to be doing one live a month. So obviously, because we're spread across Scotland, it's quite difficult for us to meet up in person all the time. So we will have the one live a month, but it's something that we're really excited about. We want to come out, not so much the comfort zone of football, but give you a different side of us. We're talking about different things. We will cover football on there. I mean, the only thing I'd imagine it just won't be every week, but we want to talk about a wider variety of things and give you, hopefully, great content.
Thanks, Stevie. You just hoovered up everything I was about to say. No, just like as I said it on the at the end of the opening episode of the podcast. We're just new to the podcast stuff, so yeah, get on the jump on the ride and come and join us on the journey, because I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure the other two lads are as well. We want to see it grow as well. So yeah, I'm sure Ross will put all the links in that down below in the description.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow them, subscribe, and yeah, hope to see you in the stream.
Yeah. It's as you said, it's something that we're really putting a lot of time and effort into. We've also got a couple of guys behind the scenes that deserve a mention as well. So it's definitely something we're really excited about. I will put the links to all that in the description too. Tuesday evening, 8 p.m, live on Twitch, and then up on the other social medias, either the Wednesday or the Thursday. So but stay tuned for that too. That just about wraps up the video for today, though. Good luck with everybody's teams this season. Even if you are marooned at the bottom, don't give up. I've been there myself, and it's more satisfying to get yourself from bottom to mid-table than it is just sitting at the top the whole time. I can assure you of that. But thanks to Fraz and Stevie for coming on, guys. cheers as per usual.
No problem.
Thanks for
No
that.
worries, mate.
And thanks to you folks for watching. Cheers.